Hi Professor, my name is Vikram Sharma. My student ID is 2326762. In this video, I'm gonna tell what I have learned from week 8. So victimology. So victimology is the study of victimization in society. It is not simply the study of victims. Like there are different types of victimizations, measuring methods, relationship between victims and offenders, and the experience of victims. Acknowledges that those experiences victimization identify themselves in different ways. Argues that the victim is a socially constructed concept. Argues that society determines who is the ideal victim. And like early theories, victim precipitation theory. Victim precipitation, term coined by Marvin Wolfgang, refers to situations where the victim was the initial aggressor in the action that led to the harm or loss. Studies have shown that approximately a quarter of homicides, the victims were initial aggressors. Notable criticism is the assumption that the victim and offender enter the interaction as equals. Victim blaming is where the skin of the crime is held responsible. Attribution error occurs where there is a great emphasis on the personal characteristics of the individual rather than the environment. Uh, like routine activity theory, the chances of criminal victimization rises with the presence of a motivated offender, suitable target, and the lack of guardian. There is a criticism in of the theory stating that the victim can do something to make themselves less of a suitable target. The theory has also been criticized for presuming all parties are equal, not considering power imbalances. Critical victimology combines the concept of the ideal victim with the intersectionality, deconstructs victim blaming, calls attention to the social constructions of victimization, recognize inequalities in access to resources based on the characteristics of the victim. Survey attempt to uncover the dark figure of crime. General survey, social survey questions the victimization experiences of Canadians with crime. There are several other specialized crime victimization surveys. Students' experiences of unwanted sexualized behaviors and sexual assault at post-secondary schools in the Canadian provinces. Survey of society in public and private spaces. Violence against women and survey. Canadian Urban Victimization Survey, Transition Home Survey. So, Indigenous Research and Reports, the Aboriginal Justice Inquiry, mandated to investigate racism towards the Aboriginal community in Manitoba. Forsaken, the report of the Missing Women Commission of Inquiry investigated the disappearance of Aboriginal women in downtown Vancouver. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada calls to actions, documented the history and impact of residential schools. Reclaiming Power and Place, the final report of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, was an attempt to investigate abuses towards Indigenous girls. Challenges in measuring victimization, the challenge of operationalizing criminal victimization, the wording of the question in surveys, the method of data collection, lack of intersectionality. So, United Nations Declaration of Basic Principles of Justice for Victims of Crime and Abuse of Power provided a blueprint for member states to develop their own national legislation on victim rights, not legally binding. Victim rights in Canada, the majority of victim rights are legislated and administered through provincial and territorial governments. Victim restitution and compensation Victim impact statement, balance rights of victim and the accused is a challenge. So victim assistance services, victim services, police based victim services available to all type of crime and trauma, crown or court based service, victim safety unit, community based victim service. Post traumatic stress disorder, like impacts of victimization like PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, post traumatic change, resilience supports individuals in overcoming adversity, post traumatic growth PTG, re-victimization. Overcoming impacts of victimization is possible through trauma and violence informed care. Victimology demonstrates how the identity and location of the person influences society's response to victimization. Colonial and patriarchal policies have disproportionately harmed indigenous peoples, in particular indigenous women, girls, and people. Victimology considers the disciplines of psychology, sociology, law, and criminology in identifying the impact of victimization. There has been progress in this field, however, further work is imperative to address the impact of re-victimization. Trauma and violence informed care is a recommended approach in working and with those who have experienced victimization. So these are the things, professor, which I have learned from the class of week 8. So our main focus was on the victimization, like impact, like what are the impacts of victimization. So like the impacts of victimizations are post-traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic change, re-victimization. Overcoming impacts of victimization is only possible through trauma and violence informed care. So what are the victim rights? So challenges in measuring victimization, indigenous research and reports measuring victimization, and what are the early theories of critical victimology. So like the critical victimology combines the concept of the ideal victim with intersectionality and deconstructs victim blaming, calls attention to the social constructions of victimization, recognizes inequalities in access to resources based on characteristics of the victim. And routine activity theory, the chance of criminal victimization rises with the presence of a motivated offender, a suitable target, and the lack of a guardian. There is a criticism of the theory stating the victim can do something to make themselves a less for suitable target. The theories has also been criticized for measuring like all parties are equal, not considering power imbalances. Like victim precipitation theory is one of from the early theories. So in the last, I just want to say victimology as an overall overview. So victimology is a study of victimization in society. It is not simply the study of victims. Like there are different kind of victimization, like there are different kind of measuring methods, relationship between victims and offenders, and the experience of victims. Acknowledges that those who experiences victimization identify themselves in different ways, argues that victim is a socially constructed concept, and it also argues that society determines who is the ideal victim. So these were the things, professor, which I have grabbed from week 8. My name is Vikram Sharma, and my student ID is 2326762. Thank you, professor.